Welcome back, everybody, to the TWSN YouTube channel. I'm Daniel Alameda here with my guy, Andrew Little. We're giving you the best matchups for NFL Week 4. We're going to run through our 10 best. I've got 5. Andrew's got 5. Once again, if you guys are here, click the subscribe button, click the like button, also comment down below, and you can see our Twitters or our X, whatever it is. DM us, reach out to us, respond, because that's the conversation that we have. So, Andrew, man, we've got 10 matchups. I know you've got 5 you want to talk about. Number 1, who do you got, Andrew?
And my first guy, I went with a quarterback. It's Geno Smith. He's going up against the New York Giants this week, and they're a blitz-heavy team. Wink Martindale loves to blitz faster, and Geno Smith's been great against the blitz. Last week had a 90 PFF grade in those scenarios, so he's hot. That wide receiver core is really starting to get going with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And the Giants secondary, not a strength of their team. And then Charles Cross, the left tackle, he's returning, so the offensive line is getting healthier for Seattle. I think Geno Smith has a big week.
I agree with you. I think Geno Smith has a huge week, and he's one where not many people are on him, right? He's had a couple down weeks, and this is a perfect get-right spot for a Monday Night Football. I love that. My first one, number 2, Andrew, is I'm going with Josh Palmer. I'm going with Josh Palmer on the Chargers, wide receiver. This isn't a popular pick, but we know Mike Williams went down. A lot of people are running to the wire to go out and get Quentin Johnston. I think he'll have his chance, but Josh Palmer, listen, as soon as Mike Williams went down, he played 100% of the snaps. Brandon Staley said, listen, he's been a guy, he's consistent. And when you look at who they're going up against, they're going up against the Raiders secondary, respectfully, that can't guard anybody. So you can look at what happened last week. Keenan Allen had a huge week. Austin Eckler isn't projected to play. So I can totally see a game where the Raiders key in on Keenan Allen, and Josh Palmer, he's the deep threat. He's the big guy. He's the 50-50 ball guy. He's going to take Mike Williams snaps. And trust me, Justin Herbert has absolutely destroyed the Raiders in his career. Josh Palmer, he is my favorite play of this week. I love Josh Palmer. I'm putting him in all my lineups.
Yeah, and my next guy, it's pretty similar thinking you. I've got another Charger. It's Gerald Everett. So Josh Palmer,
I love it.
I think he's a good pick this week. Like you said, Raiders going to key in on Keenan Allen, and they're really having trouble guarding anybody. Gerald Everett, the tight end, getting a little bit slept on, hasn't had the best start to the year. I was a big fan of him over the summer, but the Raiders, they're bottom 5 in fantasy points to tight end so far. Last year, Gerald Everett had a great game against the Raiders. He had 5 catches for 80 yards in one of them, and then 3 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6 targets game last year without Keenan Allen. Now Mike Williams out. I think Gerald Everett sees a boost just as much as Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston does.
1,000%, Andrew. And that's, once again, if you guys are watching this, subscribe and make sure you guys like this video. This is what we're doing. We're giving you guys the best matchups. I think we're on the same page. The Chargers are going to have a field day against the Raiders. So let me go to my next guy. This is a guy that everybody was on week 1, week 2, Puka Nacua. I absolutely love him this week. Last week on primetime, he had a down week, right? 73 yards, 5 receptions. Okay, he bounces back here. This is a perfect spot for him. The Colts defense, they've got a great front 7. I think they're going to be able to stuff the Rams' rushing attack. And you look at what the Rams want to do. They want the quick pass. They want the short intermediate routes. And I look at how the Colts play defense. Andrew, I watched the film. They play the most cover 3 in the entire NFL. They play the most cover 3, and who's the receiver that thrives the most in the Rams offense? That's Puka Nacua. You're going to see a lot of dink and dunk, drags across the middle, quick slants. The man's going to get another 15-target game. Matt Stafford loves to target him, and I'm telling you, he has another huge week this week. Favorite guy on the Rams. Love him this week.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Even though he had kind of a down week, still productive last week, and the receivers
70-something yards.
Still a great game, and receivers are just feasting against the Colts secondary so far. I'm going to go with another rookie with my next pick, Roschon Johnson, the running back for the Bears, going up against Denver. And last week, we saw what happened against Denver's defense. Raheem Mostert just absolutely bullied them. Justin Fields, he's really been struggling. He's been making a lot of headlines. So what does that mean? Lean on the run game. Lean on Roschon Johnson. Lean on Khalil Herbert. And Johnson is the better receiving back, and the Broncos have really struggled against receiving backs. They've allowed the most receiving yards to RBs so far. They're tied for the most receiving touchdowns. Roschon Johnson has a 13% target share so far. I think he's going to be a big target for Fields, and then also he's got that power back profile. I think he has a monster performance.
I love that, because the way I look at this game respectfully, I think the Broncos win. I think the Broncos smack them. I'm not a fan of how this Bears offense is running, but he's going to get chances, and that's what we tell people, right? Fantasy football, and even in sports, just go with the guy that has opportunity. Go with the guy that's getting opportunity. Roschon Johnson, I loved him out of college. I absolutely love your pick there, Andrew. You said a guy, Raheem Mostert. That's my next guy. And this may not be a popular pick for, a lot of fantasy people out there. They love the new guy, Devin A-Chain. He's a young guy, and I think he'll get 5 to 10 carries. But let's not forget who the bell cow is. Let's not forget the guy who's getting 10-plus carries every single week. That's Raheem Mostert. Let's not forget where Raheem Mostert came from. The 49ers. Who was his coach, offensive coach there? Mike McDaniel. They've got a great connection, and the man scored a touchdown in every single week. Now he plays the Bills, divisional matchup. The Bills rushing defense, Andrew, it's not very good. They've got, all these names. That's fine. I don't think Jordan Poyer's playing. Also, I saw Breece Hall completely run wild on him for an 80-something yard, big gain week 1. Last week, Brian Robinson had a big game, even in a blowout. I just love Raheem Mostert. I think a lot of people are on Devin this week. I love Raheem Mostert. He's going to get 10 carries. The man's going to get 60-something yards, a touchdown. Lock him in. I love Mostert this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to fade a guy after having a 40-point fantasy performance, but that doesn't necessarily mean we should take him out of lineups. I mean, he's still a great option. And another running back who people are really starting to talk about is backup, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
Harris, he's had a tough start. The workload in the receiving game is pretty much entirely gone, but they're going up against Houston. They struggle against the run. Pittsburgh's going to try to control the game at the line of scrimmage, and who does that? It's Najee Harris. He's still their lead back. He's still getting the lion's share of the rushing attempts. The Steelers are going to force turnovers. It's going to set up red zone opportunities. Harris still doesn't have a touchdown. I think that changes this week.
Yeah, man. The way I look at that is, listen, I'm glad you sold the people on it, because me personally, I'm not a big fan of, Najee Harris, but listen, I think at some point they've got to get running, right? At some point they've got to get going. I agree with you. This is a perfect spot. Fantasy football, a lot of times too, even in sports, once again, just buy the dip. Buy the dip. So many times people are so, caught up in the guys who are riding high. You got to buy the dip sometimes. So my next guy, I love him this week, Andrew. Evan Engram. Evan Engram playing in London, man. He's consistent. He's had 50-plus yards in every single game. The man's getting 8 targets a game. He's one of Trevor Lawrence's trusted targets, and he's going against a Falcons team who gives up the 6th most targets to opposing tight ends. You can look at the stats and say, okay, well, tight ends aren't doing great. Well, are any of the tight ends getting as much targets as Evan Engram is in the Jaguars offense? Not really. So Evan Engram this week, he's consistent. He's got a great matchup. Also, Andrew, the man played in London last year. What did he do in London? He had 55 yards and a touchdown. I think we'll see a little magic out there in London. This is the game that the Jaguars turn it around. I love Evan Engram this week. I don't see a lot of people talking about him because also Zay Jones is out of the lineup. So Calvin Ridley as well. I'm playing him. Love him. But Evan Engram in London, favorite guy. Love him.
Love that one. Thought about Engram too. That's a great pick this week. My last guy, Tee Higgins versus the Tennessee Titans, and for some reason, T just balls out when he's in Tennessee. He's from the state, and he had 7 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown last year against them. 7 catches, 96 yards in the playoffs. I mean, he just has their number. Tennessee's allowing the 4th most receiving fantasy points to receivers. Since he needs to establish the pass, that's been the weakness so far. This is a great game to get it going. Jamar blew up last week. I think it's T time again.
It's tea time, baby. I like that. Listen, if you guys are watching once again, please listen to us, right? Comment down below if you like it. Comment down below if you got questions. DM us on Twitter. Reach out to us. Subscribe to our channel as well. But, man, I love that. Tee Higgins, I think I'm listening to you. I'm putting him in my lineups. I'll be honest. I came onto this recording without a final one. I'm looking at it now. I think I'm going Bengals defense. And this sounds crazy, right? I just think the Bengals defense feasts this week. The Tennessee Titans are giving up the 2nd most sacks in the NFL. Their offensive line's putrid. It's bad, Andrew. And when you look at how their offense runs, it's Derrick Henry or bust. Treylon Burks also out. So what are they going to do? If the Bengals get a lead, they're going to have to throw the ball. And we know what this Bengals defense can do. We saw what they did against them in the playoffs. So Trey Hendrickson, this defensive line absolutely feasted on Monday Night Football against the Rams. I think we see another huge week out of the Bengals defense. Sounds crazy, but Dax Hill interception. I was talking to my guy Malik. I like it, man. So Bengals defense, I'm firing them up. Expect Tannehill 2 interceptions, 5+ sacks for the Bengals. I love it, man. So, Andrew, I think this was great. I'm pretty sure the people are going to, win a ton. And, man, I'm excited. So, once again, if you guys watch this, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and you can reach out to us on Twitter. But we'll be back. Andrew, this was fun. Any final words?
I think we've got 10 winners right there.
I love it, man. So, once again, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys next time.